Hi there. You're welcome to Conversations. My name is Mom, Diva Mom, and it's good to be here after quite a while. Today we're celebrating, or talking rather, about girl-child exploitation and trafficking. We will be doing justice to the discussion, and with me in the house are women who will be taking a look at this problem, which actually is a global issue, as I've come to understand, and doesn't even only affect girls, but our focus today is on the girl child. And seated directly to my right is the Director General of NAPTIP, which is the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, in the person of Dame Julie Oka Donley.
Good morning.
Good morning, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And of course, the Adora Onyechere. I just wanted to be sure I wouldn't mess up your surname. And of course, Z is with us too. She's a regular face on the program. So thank you so much for being with us. And we will get right to the beginning of the show. The concern, what's the major concern with girl-child exploitation today?
Well, as you know, not just in Nigeria, but all over the world, the girl child has always been exploited, mainly in Africa, mainly because of cultural beliefs and practices. For example, in Africa, you know, where you have men, girls and boys in the home, the girls are the ones that are expected to clean the house, to cook the food and do all of that. And then in cases where parents cannot afford education, they tell the girls to stay behind while the boys go to school and things like that, you know. So that cultural practice and belief played a huge role in the exploitation of girls, because now some men grow up to see them as sex tools, to see them as their slaves, you know. So if you look at it very well, that's why most of this exploitation, even though now it's tilting towards boys as well, but mainly the women and girls suffer from this exploitation for sexual exploitation purposes and for domestic servitude and forced labor as well. So it's a huge problem all over the world.
You know, when we talk about girl-child exploitation or exploiting the female gender at all, people's minds immediately go to men necessarily doing it. Lately in the entertainment industry, and I noticed that is seeping into the Nigerian entertainment industry culture too, you see a lot of women debasing women in their videos, in my opinion. No.
Yes.
Because when you bring a half-naked girl to come and wiggle her buttocks and all that, I think, at least where that one is concerned, in the entertainment industry, I don't think women can say anything about, oh, men have turned us into sex toys and all that. I don't know, is that just my perception?
Well, in the entertainment industry, I don't think it's men have turned us into sex toys. I think we have turned ourselves into sex symbols. And in Africa especially, where there's a lot of poverty, we tend to feel like, oh, if we make ourselves into these sex goddesses, we stand a chance of gaining wealth, with forgetting that there's pride and dignity attached to it. So in the industry, it's not the men. We're our own problem. We're looking for things that are bigger than ourselves. We're looking for the wrong attention from the wrong people. So when I watch music videos and I see them with these little toothpick things, I'm like, where are your family? Don't you have a mother?
I'm always
Don't
like,
they watch TV?
there must be an orphanage somewhere that is churning out these girls, because their parents must not be alive if they are Nigerians, or maybe they're shipping them in from other countries or something.
But they're Nigerians.
Yes,
They're
that's
not. I'm wondering, don't they have TV?
Yeah, but the truth is that it's the men that, you know, give them this idea that, look, you have to strip naked for this video to sell. And if you're not ready to do it, there's so many others that are ready to do it. And they're not going to give you a role to play. But
And
like
it's
she
all because
said,
of money.
yes, like she said, I mean, the girls disrespect themselves, because if every girl turns...
That's why you see a lot of people would use video vixens. And what I also think I'm more worried about are the agencies that have database for these girls, people who pimp them, people who manage careers of video vixens.
Yes.
What are you promoting? Are you promoting a woman who can wiggle her buttocks on a music video, or are you promoting sexuality through the wrong model? Again, it also goes from our mind and our language system. I mean, a man will see a girl and say, you look sexy. I find that offensive.
I find that offensive.
I find that very offensive.
I don't
So
even know
from
what
the
that
language
word
system,
means.
yes. So from the language system, you know, you find out that women already have some sort of connotation in their mindset that they have to look a certain way, behave a certain way. If not, there is no acceptability. You know, you have to be curvy, you have to dress in a certain style. You know what's trending, and you find out that even beyond the TV, what you find on social media is what also depicts what people were in real life. So going beyond that, going back to issues of exploitation, I think it starts from the society in itself. From what do we demand of our music videos? What do we demand of our artists? You take a Timmy Dakolo video, for instance, as against, you know, maybe a Davido video or maybe a Maxwell video. Timmy sings social, psychological songs, you know, welfare, inspiration. And the videos are quite candidly good to the soul.
Yeah.
And then you see another video from another artist, and then you're saying, but what is the messaging? What is the messaging? So I think, again, the media needs to step back, do a dress rehearsal on itself, and say, from now on, what do we want to show as our support to the society by reducing the number of videos we show of girls who are claddily dressed? What is the NBC rules on that? Are we following those rules?
Yeah, I was about to say, aren't there rules and regulations on what we're allowed to see on
but then
TV?
if it comes to that, there are those rules and regulations. There used to be a watershed. I don't know if it still exists now that we have 24-hour television service and all this. But then the NBC should be able to enforce those rules, no?
So
if a media house is going haywire and showing us near pornographic music content and stuff like that, I should expect the NBC would wield the big
wheel
stick.
it out, because I feel sometimes
by
when
the
I
time
watch
they've
TV,
done that a couple of times, you would need to release those risque videos on YouTube. Yeah, so that the person who wants such a video will go the extra mile to access it. I don't have any problem. I mean, there should be.
I think they have like a clean version of a song and a dirty version of a song.
Not always.
So the clean version comes out on radio, the dirty version comes out on paid TV.
They zip up the words.
So yeah, they zip up the word or they change the words. Because I feel when I watch music videos, I can see down to their ovaries. And I'm like, girl.
But you see, at the end of the day, it all boils down to the upbringing of the girl. Because there's no way anyone can offer me anything to dance naked.
Which is the reason why I was saying that, is it possible, in agreement with Z, that there's an orphanage somewhere that is churning out? Because when I say orphanage, I'm not trying to denigrate orphanages in the real sense of the word. I'm not even trying to suggest that that is what they do. But because of our cultural values, I find it hard to believe that a girl whose parents or even one parent or any blood relation is still alive will go on TV with maybe sometimes just
And they literally just like put tape. They cover it with tape.
So
I understand.
Or they do body
Are your
paint.
parents in one deep, dark village somewhere that electricity has never reached? Are they okay with it? Are you earning so much that they don't mind? I really don't get it. But the point I was trying to get at was, can we still afford to keep pointing fingers at men when there are female music artists using girls like that too?
It has become a mindset thing. It has become something that's allowed. It's acceptable.
Norm, yeah.
It's not because there are very few that complain about it. You don't hear the noise. There are more people that accept it, so it's like it's okay. Who are you when there are 10 people that accept it and you're the only one that's screaming no, 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 bloody murder? Your opinion doesn't matter because we got 10 other people that want it. We have 10 other people that will pay for it. So when everybody comes together and has one voice, I'm sure they will come to make a change. Even when it comes into the fact of sex trafficking. When you bring me, even in our houses now, you'll go to people's houses and you'll find that their domestic staff is a 10-year-old girl. And I'm wondering, what can a 10-year-old girl do? What strength does she have to take care of your children, cook and clean your house? Like, that's slavery. when we come together and we say, no, you're not going to bring me a 10-year-old child, return that child and bring me a grown adult that knows the difference from right and wrong, you will see they will stop bringing you those kind of kids. They will stop taking them from their parents and bringing them to the city for money.
It also bottles down, I think also beyond just looking at NBC, the agencies, institutions of government, you know, and I'm talking about both schools. You even find schools where children, pupils wear makeup. You know, they wear makeup and then pack their hair back. And yes, I've seen that a couple of times.
A few days ago.
And I'm like, what sort of, you know, upbringing is the mom encouraging at that age? You know, because the child is already making impressions with her looks, and she already feels, you know, makeup makes me more beautiful at that age. I don't have anything to do. I don't have anything against makeup, but in primary school, a child should be focused on being a child.
In primary school,
and growing through, you know, the rankings of enjoying that childhood. When a child begins to wear makeup, you know, look at wearing miniskirts and, you know, perming their hair and, you know, doing the hair gel,
weave-ons now with closures.
You've automatically, you know, taken the ideology of childhood from that child. And it goes down to also the society. In terms of exploitation, I think even before we look at the issues that happen in the larger context, exploitation starts with the mindset. It starts with the people around those people. Yes. And it also goes to show how the society accepts those norms. And that's why you find more people are exploited, trafficked. More girls are willing to, you know, go to Italy. More girls are willing to go into prostitution across the borders. More girls are willing to be, you know, used as domestic aids. And you find out that it starts from the childhood. It starts from the upbringing,
the mindset. You know, I mean, government cannot come to train you in your home. You know, the parents have a major role to play in bringing up their children, you know, in putting in these, you know, right way of thinking, these values, the right way of doing things into them before they go into the society, you know. So we have a major role to play as parents.
So meanwhile, Dame Julie, actually the only reason I went into the entertainment industry is because that hardly ever gets discussed, and I do see it as a form of exploitation, and I think we all agreed on that.
And really
so I think the number of people who think that are not so few, after all, if so many of us, if all of us seated here are not amused by it. However, which cadre or which class of society are most likely to fall into this trap of the girl child being trafficked?
Lower class.
Everyone. Everyone.
That's what I wanted to be clear of.
Anyone can be trafficked.
Please
explain. Anyone can be trafficked, but the most vulnerable are those in the rural areas, because most of them are uneducated and have little or no access to the internet or, you know, social media.
Little exposure.
And very little exposure. And so it's easy for these guys to go there to the rural communities and tell them, look, I can take you out of the country. Most of them don't even have international passports. They've never been out of their communities. So they can go to them and say, look, I can get you a passport to travel out of Nigeria and get a good job for you. And they're excited. And of course, some of them, their mothers are poor. And so they're like, oh, you know what? I have 10 children. I can't even take care of all of them. You can take as many as you want out of this place. Then it's also interesting to know that even girls that are in the university that you expect to be learned and know better are also trafficked. They abandon their school and they go with these guys. Yeah. Because there are even bankers that work in the bank, abandon their jobs, sell everything they have, and they get trafficked. So you see, anyone can be trafficked. At the end of the day, it boils down to your mindset, your upbringing. Most of the victims that are trafficked are victims of their upbringing. At the end of the day, it boils down to your upbringing and your mindset. You think that anything outside your country is the best. You don't believe in Nigeria. You must believe in Nigeria, Nigeria first, and believe in yourself and it will be very difficult to be trafficked.
But again, on the other side, I also find, I know that we have agencies like NAPTIP, which is yours, and then NOA, you know, orientation. How do we do national orientation? How do we do sensitization? Because a lot of these people, you know, like they say, ignorance is bliss. If you don't know, you thrive in it. So a lot of the people are in the rural area. How much of the information, how much of the sensitization gets to them? Because they have been co-opted into a system that they are not aware that is evil. And so it's something they have grown into and they understand. So if a mother says, okay, at the age of 18, you're ready to go to Italy, and in collaboration with a family member, takes this girl without even having a passport, like she just mentioned, what is the orientation that is given to them at such a level so that when people like that come to them, it's easy to say no. It's easy to say, I'm more informed. I have a right to say no. I do not want to be a sex object. I have a right to say no because I think I'm of age to resist. I have a right to say no because I'm underage. How do we look at the messaging? I think the messaging system, I think, is something that we need to look at.
NAPTIP has embarked actually on a massive awareness campaign, and we're doing a lot of things in the rural communities and even in the urban communities.
What channels are you using?
We go to the communities and we do an awareness sensitization. We engage, you know, the community leaders, and we have town hall meetings, radio, TV, everywhere, you just name it, you know, adverts and all of that. And of course, I expect the National Orientation Agency to also be doing these national orientation programs. I think there's something on Nigeria First or something like that. So all that is part of it. That is one. Number two, right now we're almost concluding. We're actually waiting for the final approval for the trafficking in persons curricula to be infused in the primary and secondary school curricula. And so if we have that infused in the primary and secondary school curricula, then our job is 90% done.
You see, Adora, I like what you said about agencies of government collaborating with each other to get these messages out. I do have a reasonable amount of experience with community relations. And I know that frequently, if you pass through the faith-based systems, you get much more mileage. For instance, if you go to a Christian-dominated area and you work with the churches, the predominant denominations in the axis, and get either the priests or the pastors to make it part of their regular messaging. There is so much power in that if you take them along. If you're able to sell this in the Muslim-dominated areas, you go with the imams and all these people and get them to start talking at the end of the regular service, sermon, or whatever, before everybody disperses, or maybe at the beginning before you actually start the day's sermon. You talk about it, you alert them to the dangers, you tell them about the methods that will be used by these scammers. I don't know what to call them.
NAPTIP is doing that. As a matter of fact, yesterday we were at the National Mosque. And there was a sensitization at the National Mosque. On Sunday, we're going to have a Thanksgiving in St. Matthew's Anglican Church, and there will also be a sensitization that I am going to give. So yes, we are partnering with all the faith-based organizations. We're partnering with the CSOs. We're partnering with NGOs. We're partnering with the media. Like I said, it's all of society and all of government. It's not just about the federal government. It involves the state government, the local government, everyone in society, including you and I. Everyone is involved.
So how do you determine? Are you just have you just taken a nationwide approach, or what's the approach that you're using? For instance, I think that I could be wrong, but I think that the trafficking situation, the issue with girl-child trafficking, is worse in some parts of the country than others. That's what we keep hearing anyway. So I don't know, do you prioritize the areas you go to, or it's just a wide approach?
It's a nationwide approach, because the truth is that if you concentrate on one state, then it means they will move to the second state. So what we are doing is, we are concentrated on the 36 states of Nigeria, because the truth is that the 36 states are endemic. If they are not endemic within Nigeria, they are endemic outside Nigeria. So all 36 states are endemic.
What does that mean?
Benue State is terribly endemic.
When you say
means
endemic,
like,
because
in
I
terms of
think more along health.
in
So I want you to
human
explain.
trafficking, that means their states are the rate of human trafficking is very high in all 36 states.
Okay.
Benue State, Plateau State, Kaduna State, all the states. There's none that is free. You know, for example, now, if you have girls from a particular state in Spain, you have girls from another state in Italy, you have from another state in... So that is not to say because girls from a particular state are found in one country, then it means that,
Why does that wind up being such a prominent story?
There's a history. Because, for example, if Adaora goes to Italy, for example, she's likely to invite her friends, her relations.
Italy, because that's where she has a base.
So everyone starts gravitating from that state towards there. If you, for example, go to Holland, you're likely to invite people to come along. And that is not to say that the invitation is voluntary. Most of the time, they are under, you know, they are forced to invite family members and friends. For example, if a girl is being trafficked in Italy, for example, they tell you, how many sisters do you have? Tell them to come over under gunpoint. At gunpoint, you must invite them. Then to make those girls believe that you're enjoying life to the fullest, they will send like $100 to them and put you on the phone.
Put you on the phone.
And tell, oh, yes, tomorrow somebody is coming to pick you up. You have to come. Life is good. When the sister arrives, she says, wow, is this it? So they make you recruit all your family members and
your
friends.
And everybody.
That is why in a particular country, it's like when you go to another country again where somebody from Delta has been trafficked, it continues that way. And that's what happens.
So which of these foreign countries are the biggest culprits when it comes to things like this? We are all aware of Italy.
In Europe, Italy, Spain, the Netherlands, Germany, even in Russia, in almost all the countries, I can assure you. United Kingdom, USA, all over the world. Saudi Arabia, Oman, Dubai, Egypt, West Africa, Ghana, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Togo.
You're having shivers, I can see.
It's everywhere. It's crazy.
I'm a bit worried too about
really
illegal
worrisome.
Because again, beyond exploitation, somebody has to be vulnerable to a point where they are also picked on. So I know that, yes, there is the exploitation where people are put gunpoint, but illegal migration is also a reason why people also get trafficked.
Yeah.
I don't see, because I was listening to the radio this morning and somebody said something, the remedial process of stopping human trafficking should be from creating jobs, you know, creating infrastructure, the economy. But other countries do have these issues as well. I mean, how is it that Nigeria is so spectacular in being singled out on the issues of illegal migration? And why haven't we been able to actually take the stead in napping it on the board?
I feel, you know, because Nigeria is so densely populated.
Yep.
The government cannot create as many jobs for individuals. Every day, there's somebody giving birth to a child. There's somebody that has 4 wives that all 4 wives pop out. So he has 20 children with 1 income and community that's not supportive, and they're looking at the greener pastures in another country. They find a way, one way or the, whether they get tourist visas, they go and visit, and it's like, I have arrived. I've gotten to that America. I'm not going back to Nigeria. I'm staying here. Over there, they don't know, they can't track every single person. They move from being tourists to permanent individuals illegally. Then they go into, how am I going to fend for myself? I can't get a job because in order to get a job there, you need this. What's the next best thing to do? What's the oldest profession in the world? You go into that. Nobody begged you. You put yourself into that situation. You have a home. You have somewhere to come back to. Even when the going gets tough in Nigeria, there's somebody to bail you out, no matter how little.
So others would, I think others would beg to differ on that, because I have watched the influx of illegal migrants brought back to Nigeria from Libya. I've heard stories, those who have been brought back from Germany. And when you listen to them, I don't know if I'm right.
Yeah, I want to separate prostitution, like Z talked about, they go into prostitution. I want to separate prostitution from sexual exploitation, because a lot of people are confused. They mix it up.
They mix it.
When you're a prostitute, you do it yourself. You get paid, and that's a trade.
But that's how it
when
starts.
you are sexually, no, it doesn't start with prostitution.
Some people do start with, they start as the prostitute and become the pimp.
Some people are prostitutes. That's different. Those are two different things. I want us to separate it. Those who go into prostitutions, work for themselves, get paid, that's different. Now we're talking about sexually exploited victims for the purpose of prostitution. Now these guys think they're actually going there to get a good job. And that's the impression they are given, right? As a result of their irregular status. That's why they're easily trafficked, because they are vulnerable. Yes, they don't have papers, they don't have anything, they don't have the legal right to work, the legal right to stay. And then these traffickers come along and say, you know what, I can give you a good job. And they believe that they're actually going to give them a job. Because no one in his or her right senses will be told that you're going to be trafficked. That means 10, 20 men or women will sleep with you a day, and every penny will be taken from you. Nobody would agree to that. That is sexual exploitation for the purpose of prostitution.
I think the point Z was trying to make was that some people in their quest for greener pastures find their way out of the country illegally.
Absolutely.
Go out there. And then because they are not well equipped to deal with an extremely well-organized society where everything is done with T's crossed and I's dotted and everything, they wind up putting themselves in a position where they are exploited.
No. They bring others into that. They become, like, that's what I was saying, they become, some of them become pimps where they will convince you, like, oh, you know, come, I'll give you this, I'll do this for you.
I agree with you. Those are different scenarios altogether.
Okay.
Some people travel and think they can get jobs, and maybe when they get frustrated, if they are even lucky, they become prostitutes, they get paid for their services. But for those who do not want to be prostitutes, do you understand?
Yeah, I get
there are
that.
some who don't want to be prostitutes,
and then
they get caught up and tricked
because
they are giving the impression they are going to give them jobs in the restaurants. Not that they are going to be prostitutes.
They'll be nannies or something.
And then they get hold of these girls who don't have freedom of movement. They cannot get outside of where they are camped. So these are now used for sexual exploitation, and you cannot escape.
So
and to send a very strong message to you, they will kill someone in your presence to make you know they mean business.
But how are countries, I don't know, Devon, I don't know if you agree with me. It seems as if when you look at the system of cabals, you know, that traffic girls and boys alike and humans for whatever purposes, you begin to ask what really are the roles of those countries in making sure that these persons that are brought in here are taken back to the country, you know, unanimously without even the country writing back to them. Because what you're finding is that until somebody is found out as an illegal immigrant or exploited, then you see countries start making, you know, quest for their citizens to be returned. What is the collaboration with Nigeria, with other countries? How are we looking at making sure that we have a viable bilateral relation that insists that our citizens are priority, and when these issues that are raised, they are brought back even without, you know, all. I say this because I saw what happened in Libya. You know, there were even areas that you couldn't reach to get people back, or to get people out of their situation. Hence, we now saw that report on CNN. I think it was one of the sister stations that brought it up. So I don't know, what are the relationships? How do we remove the veil and see the system for itself? Because you have people who are involved at the highest echelons of the society.
That's what I keep hearing.
The cabals are usually, you know, funded by big people in countries. For instance, in Spain.
It's a criminal network gang.
Yes.
It's a crime.
So
it's like a mafia. It's a crime. It's a mafia.
Simply put, it is a crime, like any other crime of drugs, trafficking, arms trafficking, and all of that. It's a crime where, of course, you have the cabals. You have even people you don't even expect to be part of this trafficking, you find big men and women who you respect, who are the heads of this cabal. So it's a cabal. And mind you, because of the clandestine nature of trafficking, it's very difficult to tell when somebody is being trafficked. Migration is not a crime. It is when it is irregular that it becomes a crime. And then when it leads into from one crime to the other. So there's no way a government would foresee that my citizens are going to be trafficked, because I can travel if I like. But when I overstay my visa, I become an irregular migrant and I'm vulnerable to being trafficked. Of course, we have bilateral and multilateral agreements between countries. For example, when victims of Nigeria at the destination country are seen to be trafficked, then that government can write to NAPTIP and say, we have 10, 20 girls from Nigeria who we rescued, and we are going to repatriate them back to you. And then we pick them up. And of course, when at the destination country again, 1 or 2 suspects, Nigerian suspects, are going to be prosecuted, then they write to NAPTIP. We have 2 suspects here who we are going to prosecute in Spain. Can you do a follow-up to see who they work with on the Nigerian side? So while we are prosecuting the Nigerian side, they are prosecuting that side. Okay. And if he's a Nigerian citizen, I can now request for him to be repatriated back to me so that we can try him in Nigeria. So we have those agreements.
Relationship does, which ministry does NAPTIP directly relate to?
Ministry of Justice.
Okay, Justice. But what
That's
about
our supervising ministry?
What about Foreign Affairs?
We're not under Foreign Affairs, but we liaise with Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Justice, every relevant parastatal or ministry we have relationship with. We work with virtually everyone. Now,
I was able to establish that although the most vulnerable are automatically those in the rural areas, they tend to be the most vulnerable, and nobody is totally excluded from becoming a victim of this. One thing I need also to find out is which demography is most likely to succumb to this, should I call it a temptation? Because they come with a very flowery language now. So which demography? Is it the young, the very young, middle-aged women also likely to fall victim? Have married women ever found themselves in this situation? Married women who are really starry-eyed about the Oyibo life. So I want to know which demography is most likely to succumb.
Between 16 to 25, that age group, you know, you have the young and restless, you know, and, you know, because of their mentality, you know, that, oh, I'm going abroad, that's the life.
Oh, I'm about to make it.
Yeah, so that's that age group, 16 to 25. Then, of course, you also have the middle age group too. Women, widows, single women, divorcees, single women who think, okay, somebody comes and says, you know what, I can get you a job in a restaurant in Ghana, or I can get you a job as a nurse, or I can get you a job as a caregiver. They are ready to roll, you know. So we have different age groups, you understand?
It all depends on what the need is on the other side of the ocean.
You know, so that's just it. You know, that, like I said when I came in here, anyone can be trafficked. But, you know, most of the time, your mindset, you know, your mentality helps you. You know, because somebody comes to you, for example, and says, you know, there's a job, you already know. You see the signs. No, I'm not interested. Who tells you that I'm not happy in my country? I love Nigeria, and I cannot live anywhere outside Nigeria. Nigeria is the place to be. It's difficult. But when you think, oh, no, if you go abroad, life is better, and the other side is greener, then, of course, it's very easy to be trafficked.
Kevin, I don't know how we look at... I don't know, but I feel that there is very... we're still a far stretch from intelligence in Nigeria, especially with gathering information on issues concerning cabals and those who are taking people out. For instance, take a drive through Area 3, you know, you would see on posters, you see posters, if you're looking for a job in Turkey, please call this number.
It's all over.
Or I can get you a job in Dubai, call this number. I don't know how it works. I tried calling a number once, just to, out of curiosity. And I called a number, the person said, oh, I'm in Kaduna, can you come to Kaduna? I'll pay for your transport to come to
That's
Kaduna.
it. Those are
If you
signs.
pay for my transport to come to Kaduna, I'm thinking, okay, how do
I repay you
I
now?
repay you for that?
Because
money?
nothing is
So I
free.
said, okay, can you meet me halfway? Is there any way we can meet? He said, okay, you can come to Abuja. I should meet in so place. But I got to be paranoid. I got to be scared because the number just kept buzzing me after that.
Oh, yeah.
It kept buzzing me back to back, till I had to block it.
You had nibbled and they needed to make sure.
Yes, and so I sort of sensed that this was a conduit pipe.
Absolutely.
This was a cabal. This was somebody who was willing to traffic somebody. And you imagine the numbers of those posters across town.
Yes.
And how many jobless people
Have
have
fallen
fallen
frustrated
victims.
people.
So I think it's something else I think NAPTIP might have to look into. Because all these people that just go about
Posting things.
posting things on walls and saying, call me on so time, you will get a job as a chauffeur,
Even
get
on
a
the
job
internet.
as a restaurant.
I see it on...
And I'm like, how do people not have conscience?
No, I'm going to ask you a question. What did you do about that?
Well, I reported it. We did a big story on it, and the problem is that you cannot actually even go to when you get to Kaduna and somebody sees you in a group with a group of people. They are also going to know something is wrong, and perhaps I also sense that they would be at a distance watching you.
But did you report it to NAPTIP?
Oh no, I did not.
So you see,
Yeah, but she worked as a journalist.
No, but you see,
you know?
you see, that's the problem with Nigeria, because when you see something, you must say something to the appropriate authorities.
Yes.
Because you saw something, you actually even went a step further
That was
by
a
making
NAPTIP
a
of the
call.
old.
So you should have called NAPTIP immediately.
we
A
didn't
lot of
have-
people are not aware of NAPTIP.
That's
Maybe,
the issue.
like for me,
No, we didn't
I
have a
know
NAPTIP that
but
we
my
have
brain wouldn't
now.
go there.
We didn't even have a NAPTIP that we have now. That was a couple of
NAPTIP
years.
has always been there.
No, there was no
but the-
system of enhancing relationship with
What we're
the
trying
public.
to say, what we're trying to
Even
say
when
is
we did the story.
NAPTIP was just another government name. Nobody
A
knew
few
how
years
to
ago.
engage with NAPTIP.
Absolutely.
Nobody really knew what NAPTIP was supposed to be.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could tell from the name, but were they really doing it? There wasn't much visibility.
Well, even
nobody
now-
knew how to engage with the agency and so on.
I'm going to talk on my behalf. I know of NAPTIP. Have I ever really gotten deep into researching about them and trying to find out where's their office? I mean, I've known of her prior to today, but I've never sat down to think, oh, let me come and go and look for her in this part of Abuja. The first thing that will come to my mind if I ever come across this is, oh, let me go to the police.
Yes.
But then on my way to the police, I'm
Which
like,
I did.
"They're not even gonna do
Which
nothing
I
about it."
did. Which I
Oh,
did.
you went to the police?
Yes,
and
we
the rest
did.
is history.
Well, we wish we had the NAPTIP we had then now.
No, but I personally think you did a good job.
No, but even in the interaction, I'm sure that there were letters, because as my job as a journalist, my first attempt is to reconcile the person I'm going to be doing the story on and reporting to the units within the organization. The organization writes to the police writes to NAPTIP. There is a bureaucratic relationship
Process.
that you have to follow through. I can't just get up on my own and just call NAPTIP
course
and
you
walk
can.
through. Well, because at that time, even if you wanted to call, who do you call it? The NAPTIP of then is different from the NAPTIP of now. The NAPTIP of now is a shining angel.
You want me to blush?
What we had before is not what we have now. So
Yeah, but,
I think
in addition to all the sensitization efforts you're making, I think social media should be exploited.
Yeah, we're
what it's
everywhere.
worth.
We're everywhere.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
well, where are you? Where do you see you on Facebook? Where do you see you on Twitter?
When Facebook,
Do I look for
Twitter,
NAPTIP on
Instagram?
Facebook?
Yeah.
I've never
NAPTIP
seen a
Nigeria.
NAPTIP ad.
You have to look for
I've
us.
never seen
Oh.
on Instagram. And I am heavy on Instagram.
No, we're-
My life is on Instagram.
No, we're there. We're everywhere.
I've never
NAPTIP
for one
Nigeria.
day opened
Okay.
up a blog and I saw a post about NAPTIP or a contact number of, and
No,
this is
maybe
me
you've
talking
never
from like a
you've never
socialite
checked. Never checked
standpoint.
NAPTIP. You never went
No,
to
I'm not
look
say-
for NAPTIP.
I'm
did you?
saying like nobody goes to check. Nobody
So we have-
looks for
they-
Nigerian police on Instagram. But guess what? It is there. There's something that
they look
happens
for
that
them on
Nigerian police
Twitter.
will post something. We look for them.
My
But you
dear, they
see-
look for them on Twitter and they drag them like no man's business.
But you see, nobody looks for NAPTIP. Nobody knows where to find NAPTIP. Like I said, I'm a big Instagram person. My life is on Instagram. My business is on Instagram. My followers, my fans, they're on Instagram. I'm always constantly checking. And not even once have I seen a blog that has posted something for let's use the biggest blog on Instagram, Instablog. I've never seen them post something about NAPTIP. I've never seen, now Instagram has this sponsored ad. I've never seen a sponsored ad on NAPTIP. So, and that's somebody like me. Let's not talk about somebody that's not really that into it. I feel NAPTIP, kids are on social media now. We are all about, yes, I'm a kid. We're all about Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, We're looking, it needs to be there even when we're not looking for it. They need to have sponsor ads. They need to pay all these blogs that are buzzing. So when these things are happening, the first thing that comes to our head is NAPTIP. Let's contact NAPTIP. I know of a situation where I've been to somebody's house and the maid was burnt with hot water because she didn't properly iron her boss's children's, and the woman literally boiled like a pot of hot water and...
Where is the woman? Please,
well,
send the report to me immediately.
No, this was like 2 years ago.
It doesn't matter.
And a friend of mine and I went on this big campaign and fight, and apparently the woman knew somebody in police. So it was who knew the biggest person in police station, who knew the biggest politician.
So trust me,
so we were pulling back and forth.
NAPTIP, she would have gone in for it. And it's not late if you tell me, if you report to NAPTIP.
But you see, coming in where Z left off, there are certain government agencies that are always running around in the back of our minds. NTA, NEPA. NEPA will always be NEPA. I don't care what they call themselves now. It will always be NEPA.
It's always NEPA.
Police force, the army, and all this and all this. And then there are these other agencies that maybe because they are younger, have not quite fully registered in our subconscious. You know, there are certain things. When you think television in Nigeria, you still think NTA at some point.
Yeah, of course.
When you think radio, your mind goes to FRCN. When you think anything electricity, you're thinking NEPA. You're not even thinking PHCN, you know, and so on and so forth. NAPTIP has not gotten to that point where
it has registered.
Where it registers in the back of our minds that, okay, this thing is the kind of problem that automatically links to NAPTIP.
It hasn't become second nature to us.
It hasn't become second nature to us.
It's a distant relative.
That's probably a challenge that you need to take up. And since this thing is such a huge problem, I didn't know the magnitude of it until you threw light to it. In fact, before the program started, you said even boys are being trafficked nowadays. It's not just a girl thing anymore. The only reason we focused on girls is because that's what we're talking about
That's what we're
today.
talking about.
So there is need for people to know what exactly it is that NAPTIP is concerned about. Where does NAPTIP come in? Is it at that point where we're absolutely certain that this person is being shipped outside the country on false premises? Is it that housemaid in the house that is being abused, no matter what her age is? Where should we automatically start thinking NAPTIP? And how do we access? Okay, I've seen this thing, I want to report it, possibly anonymously.
Yeah, we have hotlines. We have hotlines. And NAPTIP, you know, apart from human trafficking, it doesn't have to be when the person has been trafficked.
Which is what most people think NAPTIP
is about. If you sense that the person is likely to be trafficked or about to be trafficked, you can report to NAPTIP. Even when you see that there are people who have young girls or boys as house helps, that's child trafficking.
That's child trafficking.
You report to NAPTIP. Where, for example, she gave an example where someone poured hot water on a child. You report to NAPTIP. Where you have violence against any person, whether a child or an adult, if her husband pours hot water on her, you report to NAPTIP. We'll pick
Isn't
him
that
up.
a human rights
so,
issue?
No, Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yes.
It's mandated with NAPTIP has the mandate.
Oh, I thought it was a human rights...
No, it's with NAPTIP.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Also,
apart from trafficking, we also deal with violence cases. Rape, NAPTIP.
Not human rights.
Female genital mutilation is NAPTIP.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So any kind of violent against anybody, you report to NAPTIP.
I think the human...
Incest, you report to NAPTIP, where fathers are abusing their daughters.
Yes.
And that's also pretty rampant nowadays.
Yes, you report to NAPTIP. So all of these things, you report to NAPTIP.
Domestic violence, also known as domestic abuse, battering, All family violence is a pattern of behavior which involves violence or other forms of abuse by a person against another in a domestic setting such as in a marriage, cohabitation, or general family setting. It ranges from physical, verbal, economic, religious, emotional, reproductive, and sexual abuse. Sometimes it appears subtle or coercive, but it is still abuse. Domestic violence occurs when the abuser believes that the abuse is acceptable, justified, or unlikely to be reported. It usually produces intergenerational cycles of abuse in children and other family members who may feel such violence is acceptable or condoned. Statistics show that globally, the victims of domestic violence are mostly women and that it is steadily on the increase. Research has established a direct and significant correlation between a country's level of gender equality and the rates of domestic violence. Unfortunately, it is the most underrated crime, even though it is fast on the increase, leading to lots of hurts, harm, and even loss of lives.
Slavery is an evil practice abolished all over the world over 200 years ago. But today, human traffickers are selling human beings as slaves in Africa. It is your responsibility to make sure that you and the people you know do not fall into slavery. Don't believe fake promises of jobs abroad.
People went to say Libya, Italy no use you when they carry me on top water. 4 days now they lock me for inside house, no food, no water. I nearly die. Now God, when me heaven and earth, now save me. If you get 1 naira for Nigeria, you get junior one, you say you no get papa, you no get mama, now make you come out. I beg go they do farm work. You better pass person when enter road.
Don't accept to travel to Europe through the Sahara Desert. You may be walking into slavery. Don't be a slave.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
When there's a child out there that's not getting the same that your own child is getting, the difference will tell, and there will come a time in the society where that child is going to take its pound of flesh.
Where you can actually, everything from watching a program with the child, you can start up the conversation from something on the TV and say, oh, you know.
For me, it's like, hurry up with this business. And the other one said, Auntie, it's not about me, it's about the guys. They're not ready to marry.
Yes. If she wants to ask something, no, I know my mother very well. In fact, the most interesting one is when I put up pictures on WhatsApp, you know, Snapchat filters and all that, she will call me, remove that picture. There was a day I got tired of all that and I said,
we should be wrapping up now, so if there's still any gray area.
Yeah, for me, I just feel that beyond the issues of, I know there are a lot of organizations, once it's a World Day event, you know, they just come out in mass and do a one-off. You know, we are fond of doing that, not just in Nigeria, in Africa. In the world, you know, is World Day against this and everybody matches out. But I think, to me, I think we should have a habitual, you know, structure of passing messages even beyond events, you know. And I'm saying this because, I mean, I told you backstage that next week is World Day Against Human Trafficking. And I know that NAPTIP is going to also be doing a lot of events. But beyond that event, you know, what is NAPTIP going to be doing? I know there's a walk and all that. What is NAPTIP going to be doing to engage people, you know, to continue with the crusade, even beyond a day set out in the calendar to mobilize people to talk about issues of trafficking? Because I think it's a habit. Even us in the media, it's only the day that something happens that we begin to look at issues within that.
No, I don't agree with you because every Thursday rather, sorry, we go out, you know.
Oh.
Yeah, we carry out sensitization campaigns all over we have 10 offices in 10 states. So the 10 states, they all go out into communities and
they're strategically located across the geopolitical
absolutely,
zones.
yeah. And every Thursday I wear my T-shirt or my shirts. I don't know if you've seen me in my shirt and my cap. Every Thursday, and my officers and men also wear the NAPTIP T-shirts. That's also a way of creating awareness, you know, and all of that. So we do that every Thursday. But, you know, as time goes on, we plan to do it every day, not just once in a week.
So is NAPTIP doing anything in particular this period? Because she says she's not seen anything on social media yet.
We need to
on Monday, for example, we're going to have the walk. You know, against trafficking. Then on Tuesday, we're going to have a public lecture, you know. But beyond that, every Thursday, we carry out sensitization.
So it's a continuous round the calendar.
Yes.
And if you know the next person doesn't know, spread the news.
Yes.
Tell a friend to tell everybody.
Every Thursday. Yeah, every Thursday. We go to schools. We go to schools. We go to churches, mosques, everywhere. We go to the motor parks. We go everywhere.
And that's very good to know, because this is where we wrap up today's edition of the program. I really hope that you are able to pick up particularly the instances within which it is necessary to get across to NAPTIP. My name is Diva Mom, and I've been talking to Dame Julie of NAPTIP. She's the DG NAPTIP. Adora is somebody most of you already know. No need for lengthy introductions. Or
my name is Adora.
And, of course, Z. Thank you so much for staying with us, and see you again next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So they rule the country. Search me.
Oh, come on, G. That's
okay, I beg, allow me make my food just digest.
Hey, madam, I don't need that money. No contact me for this place. No let government don't lock my restaurant. All that way they do, just stop it. Before now they will talk about what's in the come my shop. Don't tell me to stop. Don't tell me that. Wait. I beg your pardon. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Just stop that the way you want to. Stop it. Who is begging you? I said, I beg your pardon. Just stop it.
I'm Sipasi Olaleko Ayodele. I'm based here in Ikorodu, Lagos State. I'm the founder of Protector Zone. We train children, youth, and farmers in sustainable agricultural practices to fight hunger and alleviate poverty even in the city. In 2016, joining Empower, I was able to reach more people. Empower gave me the feasibility and the exposure I needed to scale my organization from where it was to where it is now. Because of the opportunities Empower has actually given me and the facilities they provided us, whereby we are going to schools, partnering with the teachers, training the children on sustainable agricultural practices. We have a lot of youth, women, and children who benefited from our platform. Even what I'm doing on a small scale has actually brought me a lot of local and international recognition. Currently, I won the Nigerian American Partnership Award and the US Consular General Award based on what I'm doing right from my community here.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem promptly through revival of agriculture.
is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
I am Alioha Emmanuel Nhechinaise. I'm from Imo State. My husband is from Abia State. I reside here in Ijebode, Ogun State, in Irenwo community. I've been a cassava farmer, and I noticed there is no much money in cassava farming alone. So when I heard about Empower program, I applied for it, and they gave me the opportunity to be part of it. It was from Empower program that I learned how to process cassava tubers to cassava fufu flour. This Empower program is the best thing that happened to me within these 2 years. I've really learned a lot, and I've really gained a lot from it. It was from my stipend that I bought my equipment that I'm using to process cassava flour today. I'm grateful to the federal government for giving us this device. I've really learned a lot from it, from the application and all that.
Issues in the sports sector remain one of the most debated among Nigerians due to the passion, followership, government involvement, impact on Nigeria's external image and our national life in the sports parliament. The NTA offers Nigerians deep views on issues with experts in the sports sector, offering in-depth analysis, hindsight, insight and foresight towards elevating Nigerian sports to the zenith on the floor of the sports parliament.
The benefits that accrued in school sports, it is the bedrock of any nation.
A few Nigerians wanted the status quo to continue. So I don't think we should put all Nigerians and say Nigerians don't follow the trend, because the smart ones, we are following the trend.
The National Sports Lottery Fund, shrouded in secrecy.
The fact that the Super Eagles played an NTA, not only NTA, no Nigerian broadcaster, in fact, no broadcaster anywhere in the world from our records was able to bring that much. It's a matter of concern.
Issa Hayatu was president for 29 years. He lost the election in Addis, and that's it. He's gone.
Sports Parliament, a unique platform for sports discussions, showing live on the NTA, Thursdays at 11 p.m. Keep a date with the parliamentarians.
The eyes have it.
Akpotego Isakwobeje. I'm from Delta Stick Company. At that 2005, the company was privatized. Those that were working, that were caught up with the privatization, were laid off. No arrangement for the payment of anything. They were denied their pension rights. So in 2005 through 2017, we have been struggling how we can be put back on pension. We staged a lot of demonstration, under the rain, under the sun. The government did not listen. The marginalization for the past 13 good years by successive administration, the sufferings we'll be going through, the loss of human dignity and no hope for livelihood from July.
A very good morning to you. This is the network service of the Nigeria Television Authority. I am Muslima Sholebo with the news.
And I am Claire Delabu Abdul Razak. The news at 10 is broadcast live from Abuja, Nigeria's capital city. Here are the headlines. President Buhari receives Qatari investors in furtherance of the country's economic diversification drive.
Federal government approves special intervention fund for the reconstruction and expansion of roads across the southwest region.
Federal Ministry of Water Resources prioritizes 20 water-related projects for completion by 2020.
Nigeria sets up 4 seismometer centers for predicting earth tremors. We'll hit off the news with economic diversification drive of the Buhari administration. President Muhammadu Buhari has granted audience to a group of Qatari investors in Paris.
State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the group was led by the former Prime Minister of Qatar, Sheikh Hamad bin Jassim.
The meeting held on the margins of the Paris Peace Forum in the French capital was an opportunity for the Qataris to appraise their investments across Nigeria in critical sectors of the economy. Leader of the group and former Prime Minister of Qatar, Hamad bin Jassim, commended President Buhari for his genuine efforts at making Nigeria better. The president's high sense of integrity, sincerity of purpose, and commitment to the good of all his countrymen informed their resolve to consolidate on their investments in Nigeria through diversification in other economic sectors. Justice Minister Abubakar Malami was at the meeting held behind closed doors.
They have indeed narrated the progress and development they have recorded as it relates to the investments they have on the ground, and they have equally expressed an intention to bring in a further package as it relates to other areas of interest that they feel they are interested in diversifying their investment in the Nigerian state. So it's a package, it's about a promise to bring in a further package within the context of the banking, oil and gas, railway and power, among others. Again, the background of what they called the relative stability in the system and indeed consistency that they believe has set into the investment climate of the Nigerian nation.
President Buhari, the minister said, appreciated the renewed interest of the Qataris in Nigeria's economy and reaffirmed his commitment to supporting any initiative that will enhance the nation's economic fortunes for sustainable development.
You know, Nigeria is indeed interested in having investors, and Mr. President has given them the commitment and the desire to look into their proposals on its merit within the context of the law and within the context of the available opportunities as far as the Nigerian nation is concerned.
President Buhari's engagements with critical stakeholders in the interest of Nigeria continue in Paris. From France, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Nigerian delegates have described President Buhari's address to the first edition of the Paris Peace Forum as one that touches the crux of the prevailing global challenges and the most practical ways of addressing them for sustainable peace and development. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has more.
In his address to the world leaders at the 3-day peace forum put together by the French government to bolster multilateralism and collective action in tackling global challenges, President Muhammadu Buhari harped on the need for the international community to not only crack down on safe havens for corrupt assets, but also ensure that such illicit funds are recovered and returned to countries of origin. Using Nigeria's experience, the president said the threat of jail terms is no longer sufficient to deter perpetrators because of the lucrative nature of corruption. Some members of the Nigerian delegation say the president has truly projected Nigeria as a force that cannot be ignored any further on issues critical to global peace, stability, and prosperity.
When you look at what our president spoke about here, it's a subject close to his heart. Anti-corruption, illicit financial flows, and how to stem the tide of that. As the ambassador anti-corruption for the entire continent of Africa, it is also appropriate that it's the one being asked to do this, because at home is not only putting processes and institutions in place to ensure that the fight against anti-corruption is sustainable over the long term, whether you talk of PACAC or you talk of strengthening EFCC or strengthening ICPC or even the open governance partnership that Nigeria has been a leader in the world. It's very clear that the president is not just personally committed, but he's institutionally committed to ensuring that Nigeria stems the tide of corruption in the country, but also becomes a moral beacon on the continent and in the world.
There is no way you can promote peace where there is massive corruption. Massive corruption deprives people of development. And if there are no developments, obviously there won't be any peace, and people will move from where they are to even other countries in search for what they should do to support their lives. So when you look at, you are talking about peace, you look at the whole gamut of it. It's not about shooting guns or dropping bombs alone, but doing what is right as a government, as a community, that promotes peace. Corruption kills development and also kills people psychologically. So really, I think the two are intertwined together.
It is important to be emphasizing peace, and that's what this segment of the activities emphasize. Peace all over the world. You know, it's good to be. You cannot oversay it, so it's good to be emphasizing it, because war is not good. Talking is cheap. War is expensive. You know, so I'm very happy that I witnessed all this globalization of specific peace initiatives, you know, by the great world powers. You know, our president did very well at that function.
The Peace Forum, which ends on Tuesday, is expected to come up with far-reaching measures towards addressing global challenges for peace and socio-economic development. From Paris, France, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And back to legislative matters now. Senate has frowned at the teachers' training institutes that gave less attention to teachers' training in their budget implementation.
The Senate Committee on Basic and Secondary Education, during its 2018 budget performance meeting with some agencies under the Ministry of Education, reminded them of their core functions. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Unko has more on this.
As a prelude to the 2018 budget presentation and consideration, the various ministries and departments of government have been presenting their 2018 budget performance before the concerned parliamentary committees. The Senate Committee on Basic and Secondary Education met with 5 education agencies for their 2018 budget performance. After presentations by the Teachers Registration Council, National Board for Islamic and Arabic Studies, the committee observed inadequate attention to teachers' training in the budget analysis.
The TRCN is constructing a second building at the headquarters, and that is where the 11.376 million that is given to us is going.
We are very keen about quality of our teachers. That is why we have that program of quality assurance and standardization program.
As far as I'm concerned, we are not paying nearly enough attention to the quality of teachers and to training and retraining of teachers.
The West African Examination Council, Nigeria and International, and the Nigeria Teachers Institute also defended their 2018 budget performance. Meanwhile, the Senate Committee on Petroleum Downstream has summoned the Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria to appear before it next week Tuesday to answer questions on why the petroleum marketers being owed by government are yet to receive their payment as advised by the National Assembly.
We have resolved to invite CB and Governor and Minister of Finance to appear before this committee unfailingly on Tuesday.
The directive came after the Apex Bank failed to appear before the committee at this meeting. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Unko, NTA News.
All right, that was Ignatius Unko. And indeed, you really cannot churn out what you don't have.
Absolutely. You know, the teaching profession is a noble profession, but government and the teachers need to up their game, because if you don't have good teachers, like parents, they give the children the tools for education, but it's the teachers that teaches them how to use the tools. And that's how we can have a beautiful country and a country worth its salt. So it's a good thing that teachers are being given this opportunity to up their game.
Precisely. Yeah. Let's move on now. And this time we're turning attention to the House of Representatives that has expressed concern over reactions peddled in the media of its findings and allegations of violation of public trust against management of National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, in the procurement and distribution of relief materials to victims of flood and insurgency in 2017.
National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that the chairman of the House Committee in Emergency and Disaster Preparedness, Representative Ali Issa, says the report was based on submissions of stakeholders during public hearing on the matter.
Representative Ali Issa said publications by certain sections of the media are contrary to what the committee tendered before the House on Thursday, November 8th.
A lot of publications, some are not even in line with the report submitted, while some are attacking my personality, attacking the members of the committee and the House of Representatives.
In the meantime, Tuesday's plenary passed at second reading a bill for an act to prohibit the killing and exportation of donkeys out of Nigeria, sponsored by Representative Garba Mohammed. At the end of plenary, the Speaker, Yakubu Dogara, played host to the Director General, Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, Dakuku Peterside, whose visit was to seek the support of the House of Representatives for accelerated hearing on bills that will improve maritime activities.
The freight rate to Nigeria is increasing astronomically.
But we take this matter seriously, and it's unfortunate. I heard that the bill on the suppression of piracy has been transmitted to the National Assembly from the executive end. It's even been read on the floor of the Senate last week. I was meant to understand. But unfortunately, right now, as we speak, I haven't seen it.
The three bills are Suppression of Piracy and Related Offences Bill and amendments to Merchant Shipping Act, as well as NIMASA Act. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, has expressed its willingness to continue to support disaster-related interventions by NEMA, which they described as holistic.
The acting deputy mission director of the agency, Charles Egu, stated this in Abuja during the training of officers from the Emergency Operations Center across the country. Ilyasu Ali Yakubu has more on that.
As the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, continues to receive commendation for the proactive response during the 2018 flooding from both local and international donor agencies. This training, organized by USAID, is part of strategic plan to improve the capacity of NEMA response officers in the event of any kind of disaster challenge. This is part of early preparations to close gaps and improve on the intervention in disaster management in the years ahead.
NEMA has significantly improved its capability to coordinate emergency response.
The commitment this administration has in quick response to disasters made them to quickly accept our proposal and fund this training. This is a special training. This is a training that will ensure not only quick response but effective and disaster management.
As the waters recedes completely from the flooded areas, the task of rehabilitation and relocation of flood victims is given priority as NEMA continues to provide food and shelter before their final relocation. In Abuja, Ilyasu Ali Yakubu, NTA News.
And the federal government says it has prioritized 20 water-related projects for completion between now and 2020. Now, that's in addition to the 16 completed ones.
Water Resources Minister Sulaiman Adamu was given account of his 3-year stewardship in Abuja at the opening of the maiden edition of the Nigeria Media Water Week with the theme, Water is Life. Musbah Wahab has more.
From this day, when Sulaiman Adamu assumed office like other ministers of Buhari's administration, it's been 3 years now. From consultation to various retreats, development of roadmap for the water sector, prioritization of ongoing projects, and then implementation of the plans, every step of the way has been strategic from the accounts the minister gives here. Apart from the 9 completed and inaugurated projects so far, 7 others are ready for utilization, while 7 water supply projects and 13 dam and irrigation projects are scheduled for completion between 2018 and 2020. With the recently launched WASH National Action Plan, a state of emergency declared by President Buhari, the minister says the sector is set for an enhanced service delivery.
There will be a purposeful collaboration in all our activities towards achieving access to potable water, sanitation and hygiene for all Nigerians, and a renewed commitment towards an open defecation-free nation by 2025. If this is not done, we stand the chance of taking the center stage of open defecation countries when India would have exited by mid-2019.
Chairman, House Committee on Water Resources, Aliyu Patigi, appreciates the improvement being recorded by some river basin development authorities across the country and believes in the commercial viability of the sector.
The state government collects money from the individual households, yet they give nothing to the people who provide them with the bulk water. So this should stop, and I believe if you go through this trajectory, we will finally have a sustainable funding platform for water resources.
While the ministry religiously continues with the implementation of each roadmap, it believes the passage of the National Water Bill will further strengthen the sector with policy direction. The 3-day Nigeria Media Water Week continues as the River Basin Development Authorities also subsequently give their progress reports. In Abuja, Musbah Wahab, NTA News.
And still with the water resources sector, the federal government has signed to take over the completion of the Farin Ruwa Dam project from Nasarawa state government.
Water Resources Minister Sulaiman Adamu and Governor Umaru Tanko Al-Makura of Nasarawa State signed a memorandum of understanding to that effect on behalf of their respective governments in Abuja. Musbah Wahab again has more.
This occasion is an example of a healthy collaboration between the federal and state governments. And this signing is another step by the federal government to improve the socio-economic life of thousands of people across 10 communities of Nasarawa State. Their hope of getting potable water and electricity supply from Farin Ruwa hydropower project in Wamba local government area of the state has been hanging in the balance. Nasarawa state government cited poor conception and paucity of fund as reasons for abandoning the project, which started in 2003. And so, the state request for federal intervention received favorable response from President Buhari, who granted approval for federal government's takeover and completion.
The Federal Ministry of Water Resources observed that the project could be converted to a multipurpose project as it has potentials for water supply and irrigation development, apart from hydropower for which it was initially conceived. It was therefore concluded that the project could be a vehicle to achieve multipurpose goals of rural development, poverty eradication, and gender mainstreaming in pursuance of the Sustainable Development Goals.
We are ever grateful to the federal government for its proactiveness in taking the burden off our shoulders by financing the entire project.
The Farin Ruwa multipurpose dam has about 73 million cubic meters storage capacity and 20 megawatts potential for electricity generation, among other potentials. In Abuja, Musbah Wahab, NTA News.
This is the news at 10 on NTA Network Service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We have more news coming up. 4 seismometer centers for predicting earth tremors.
The Nigerian Television Authority News 24 channel, your dependable all-round news station, offering you world-class news programs, documentaries, spotlights, promos, and information highlights. Take advantage of our network reach and advertise your interest, goods and services with us. NTA News 24, first among equals with digital broadcasting. You can reach us on Channel 21 Terrestrial TV and Channel 101 on the StarTimes platform. For more inquiries, please call Henry on 0803 379 0884. Join us today.
Special Intervention Fund for the reconstruction and expansion of roads across that region.
Chairman Senate Committee on Works, Senator Kabiru Gaya, gave the assurance while mandating the contractors handling the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway to speed up work on the project. Fatai Adieloja covered the Senate Committee's work inspection of federal roads in the southwest region and now reports.
Senator Kabiru Gaya pointedly told the contractor handling the Ibadan-Shagamu portion of the road that the road must be delivered in record time as government is not leaving any stone unturned in funding.
The budget is in trillions, but government is trying to continue paying accordingly. We have 34,000 kilometers of road we are working on.
The Senate Committee on Works that just visited, they have said there's going to be inflow of cash.
Mom was the word from the contractor who declined comment, referring us to higher authorities in Abuja. While playing host to the team, Ogun State Governor Ibikunle Amosun pleaded with them to facilitate prompt release of money expended on federal roads by the state.
The federal government road, we submitted a quote of 146 billion. I think they said, okay, they have certified about 123 billion, but they've only approved 59 billion. That 59 billion hasn't even been paid.
The Ibadan-Abeokuta road is put at 88% completion. However, the contractor requested an upward review of the contract sum awarded in 2010.
As of today, we are around 88% completion of the road. The rates are obsolete.
Oyo State Governor Isiaka Ajumobi, represented by his deputy Moses Alanke Adeyemo, decried the deplorable state of roads in the state and called for speedy intervention. Inspection-wise continued in Ibadan. Fatai Adieloja, NTA News.
Now, insufficient database and inadequate funding have been highlighted as some of the factors hindering efficiency in traditional policing in Nigeria. Now, to further ensure protection of lives and property, Guests on Nigeria Today stressed the need to leverage the value of community policing across the country. Security sector development expert, Assistant Inspector General of Police, Austin Iwa, says community policing could be very effective if it adopts a philosophical approach.
With refinement of our structures, with refinement of our systems and processes and procedures, we will be able to get the necessary competencies, the necessary skills, and also the understanding by everybody, including all police officers, that this is a philosophy that defines how police services should be delivered. So you don't have a situation where some people are doing community policing while others are doing traditional policing.
Security management expert Kabiru Adamu noted that intelligence gathering is key in security. He adds that the protection of lives and property is everyone's responsibility.
Intelligence is really the key and paramount to every security plan, every security operation. With good and proper intelligence, you are almost certain of success in any security operation. It's just one, of course, of the elements, but it's probably